now. Ooh, look up. Because, not up, but out. That's what I should have said. This is closer to the ideal that you want for a pine flatwoods. Because a healthy pine flatwoods is looking for about 3 trees per acre. So you really want a lot of space in between. Because if the trees get any closer together, there are like pine bark beetles that can then jump from tree to tree. Almost every pine tree has its own little neighborhood pine bark beetles. But they're not a problem unless everything gets too dense, too bunched together. It's like us getting diseases from all of us living too close together. The trees, in living too close together, then the pine bark beetles explode. Plus, if a fire does happen, when it's nice and open like this, you don't have, a tree can get burned, but you're not going to end up with a crown fire that's going to spread from tree to tree to tree. We're going to see where that happened. In fact, you can kind of see it over there. We're coming up on it. But that is part of the advantage of having trees well spaced. Also, you don't have too many plants that are reaching into this nutrient poor soil. But you know what you do have? Something that you can't see. And it's a fungus. It's called mycorrhizal fungi. And it lives in a symbiotic relationship with these pine trees. And its roots are even smaller. The fibers of its roots are even smaller than the smallest roots of the trees themselves. And 1 teaspoon of mycorrhizal fungi will have 7 miles of that fungi in it. And the fungus works out into the soil, and because it's so microscopic, these filaments, it can work in to get nutrients that are inaccessible to the actual roots of the plant itself. So there's a lot happening here, that things are working in a symbiotic relationship with each other, oftentimes, sometimes not, but oftentimes in order to help each other survive. This little yellow flower that you're going to pass by, and I may have passed up some up to this point, this is St. Johnswort. You eat the little sepals that are in the middle and get happy. That's also an herbal sort of a remedy to depression. But the downside is that if you eat too much of it, it apparently makes your skin sensitive to the sun. I should put in caution here. I do not recommend eating the weeds. I do not go along with Green Dean and recommend that people eat the weeds, because there are things out here that can poison you. Just like I suggested with the
ivy,
the stagger bush. The preserve is 913 acres. Yes. There are Galt Preserve.
Is it Lee County then? Or,
This is Lee County. Yeah. This is part of Conservation 2020. This is a 2020 preserve.
So Galt is 2020.
Galt is 2020 also.
I think they just opened it like 5 weeks ago, right? I saw on the website they just opened it.
A few months ago.
Yeah.
They opened it a few months ago.
Yeah, it's brand new.
Yes.
Compared to all the others.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Well,
there.
it's been there a while, but they put in boardwalks and parking and.
Is there like alligators there? I hope.
I don't know.
It says on the sign there are.
Ah.
There's alligators, wild hogs, and something else.
Well,
and coyotes.
So where do those hogs come from? They're pigs. Where are those originally from?
Spain. They came with the Spanish explorers.
Wow,
So they've been here a long time.
they didn't get rid of those things.
500 years.
Yeah.
Well, they do try to get rid of them.
So, what is this plant? This. This. What's that?
Well, this is grass, and we have like a myriad of grasses here. I would say that this is one of the witch grasses. We have blue stem, we have different bunch grasses. I would say that this is one of the witch grasses because it has some red in here.
Cool. And how are dead trees important to like animals out here?
Well, the dead trees are the snags, and they're important to the woodpeckers.
Like, oh, like they want to eat the insects.
They want to eat the insects, and they also want to burrow into the tree in order to have their little homes.
Nice.
We're gonna start seeing more of this, so kind of you all watch as I do. But this is blueberry. This is shiny blueberry. This is the plant. And it's not going to grow much higher than this. But we are going to see more of the this plant appearing, especially as we go around the backside. And you were looking at this. This actually is tar flower. And I was hoping that this is in the same family as, oh, good. We've actually got two together here. We've got two different plants, even though they look like the same plant. We have got,
oh, you're okay?
this is tar flower, and this is the rusty ionia or staggerweed. They're both members of what's called the Ericaceae family. That's not so important. But remember the rusty ionia, these are little hairs that collect moisture. Well, if you look at the tar flower, their hairs are very evident in the fresh new growth, but they're just configured differently. They're on the stems. But again, it's the idea that it's collecting moisture. Now, I think if you look around, you get the sense that this is drier than where we were before.
Yeah.
And look at how these petals, they they're very, they're almost like leather. They're a little bit leathery, and they're also facing like this. They're not like, you know, like that, sitting out. Instead, they're like this. So any water that accumulates on them will run down to the roots. They just have to develop all kinds of strategies, which are really adaptations, in order to survive in these harsh environment, in a harsh environment like this, because we get tons of rain during the summertime, some of which is going to be standing here. I mean, if Ron and I come in July or August, we'll be in water up to here, walking through.
Kind of like a big flood.
Kind of like a big flood. And then, yes, we got rain yesterday, and we've had some rain recently, but normally we're kind of in a drought period during the winter. So, yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah,
We've
not at all.
watched this already. But this area here that's so clear, is that a natural occurrence? Or?
That is from fire. That is
Because I don't even see the
because-
saw palmettos out there.
Exactly, exactly. What they do is they will make grids, and they will burn certain areas. That is a very easy area to burn because it's not close to homes, it's not close to roads. This is much harder to burn because it's right along Stringfellow. And the closer that you get to Stringfellow, they've got to be more and more careful about exactly the wind direction, how fast it's going. And so there's a lot more that has to be considered in a managed burn that's close to cars and to homes.
So how do they start these prescribed fires?
They have to apply for permits. The question was, how does this process happen?
And how do they
have
make
to
the
apply.
fires? And how do they make the fires also?
They actually have a canister that creates fire.
Gail?
Yes?
I got
Yeah.
some questions earlier
Yeah.
about the little things that look like holly. And actually they're little oaks
They are, I
Baby.
would call them sand oaks. I think you call them something else.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. This is one and that's one. And this
Which ones?
This and this. And like this is about as big as they get. But they are a true oak. As you can see, that one and both of these are blooming right now. Now typically, an oak tree has to be about 50 years old before it blooms and has acorns. And these are doing it. So they may be that old. Probably older.
It's true.
But that's as big as they get.
What did you call those?
Sand oak is what I call them. There's another name
Yeah,
for them.
we got like 3 different ones here. You're right. Sand oak. There's also running oak. There's dwarf live oak, and there's scrub oak. And the sand oak. So we've got all 4 here. They will never grow as tall as a typical live oak or laurel oak. They are meant to be low-lying, and they are meant to live in an ecosystem like this. And in a burn, then what they do is the top will be burned off, but the nutrients are in the roots, and so they will just spring right up again. And if they didn't get fire, they would eventually weaken and die, because they're not meant
to sustain.
exactly big, dense, high growth. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Thank you, Joan. This is a beautiful little flower. It's called Rose Rush. I'm going to get out of the shadow. Its taxonomic name actually speaks to the fact that there are no leaves or anything on it, but I can't remember what the taxonomic name is. But interestingly, it opens up like from 10 o'clock on. So it must be 10, 19.
Wow.
And you can see that it's actually just opening up. And it's in the aster family. It's so it's pollinated by insects.
Like butterflies?
So
By
how
butterflies.
does it, excuse me, but how does it gather its moisture then if it's closed up all night?
I don't know, but I would imagine that
doesn't
it is
have any
sitting in an
leaves.
area that, see, this all has a certain amount of moisture in
Yes.
it. The thing is, with this type of soil, that it will hold moisture, because underneath the sand, there is clay and silt. And so as moisture falls, it doesn't like percolate straight down into the limestone. Instead, it's kind of held in place.
Well, the limestone's pretty close to the surface here too.
Good point.
If you'll remember back when we first started the trail down by the strangler fig, there was limestone right on the surface. So I doubt that it's very far down here, and that holds some of the moisture here.
So we may have to dig shovel a little bit to reach it.
Yeah, you could dig it. You could dig it up probably. It's only I wouldn't doubt it's less than 5 feet deep or something.
So limestone is like a rock.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's a very pretty flower.
It is. Beautiful, beautiful color.
I know it. I know it. Isn't that interesting?